It's no surprise that cloud and regulation has been kind of dominating, if you like, this whole event. And I've heard things like, we've had clouds for years, the latest fashion from the ICT world. So I thought I'd ask the question, are the clouds we're talking about now, are they the same clouds as we've always had? Where we wrote PSTN, Public Switch Telephony Network, ISDN, Integrated Services Digital Network. Are they the same clouds or are they different clouds? Are they fundamentally different? So I was wondering if you could, on your tables, for those of you who have these voting keypads, please just, if we could just start the countdown now, please. Just press yes, one, it's completely the same, there's nothing really new here. Actually, this is marketing. This is marketing lipstick. Or, well, it's mostly the same, it's a bit of marketing, but there are some things that are new. Partially the same, quite a few differences. Actually, they're very different. There are lots of things to think about. Or 5, the cloud is completely different. This really does raise new issues we haven't seen before. So if you'd like, for those of you with a keypad, please press, look for the little green light to pop up on the keypad to confirm that your vote has landed. So is the cloud the same, or in fact is it fundamentally different? And in 8 seconds we'll find out what you think. So it looks like roughly, I don't know, 60% of us think, yeah, there's some pretty important differences here. 40% think, man, this is completely different. We need to really take notice of this. But 20% of us think, you know what, this is just a bunch of lipstick. There's nothing really new. We can kind of box on with the same old ideas and thinking that we've had in the past. So with that, if we could just flick back, I'd just like to take you through to the morning coffee break and hopefully some points for discussion. So here's the content of my agenda, and I was reflecting on all the discussions of cloud, the excellent presentation we just had now, the presentation yesterday from UNEA, but I thought it was useful that there are some terms inside our discussion about the cloud that might be useful to reflect on, and then a couple of case studies, and then I have a short video which kind of takes us into the future about the web of things and what that might look like. So here are some clouds. Actually, these, as I dug into the long, dark memories of my first entry into this industry 16 years ago, we used to draw clouds. But you can see that I also Googled cloud networking, and here was, under images, here are some of the pictures that popped up. And you'll notice that these clouds are a little bit less detailed than the other clouds. You kind of knew what you were handling, and I thought that it might be useful just to consider what's the difference between, for example, a private network and a private cloud network? Because we used to draw this like a cloud all those years ago. So if you'll imagine that you abandon your jobs and you become IT directors for at least the next 8 minutes, maybe less, faced with applications such as email, file sharing, intranet, you might put these on individual servers, and this is a private network. If you wanted to turn this into a private cloud network, what you do is you actually virtualize those servers. So sometimes a private cloud is also referred to as virtualization. Now if you look at the applications up here, the applications can't tell that they're not on real servers. You can ping these virtual servers, you can see they look like little ghost servers. They're not real servers, but as our clients, individuals, the servers themselves, they don't know any different. But you can see that the physical servers have now been removed from those. And this starts to give us some flexibility as IT directors, because maybe we have some growing demands inside our business and we need to, for example, increase the amount of intranet capacity or increase our email. So now we have the flexibility, we can simply jam some more resources in the physical layer, but we didn't have to do any upgrades, we didn't have to take any of our services or applications down. Our end users, they didn't even know the difference. So we start to get some of the first hints as to which companies are going to start considering virtualization even in their privacy. It's around asset utilization, because some of these applications might want heavier requirements than others. We heard about hybrid cloud yesterday, and a term that hasn't come up, but it's prevalent, is a term called cloud bursting. Now, cloud bursting and hybrid clouds is essentially the same thing. The difference is that when you cloud burst, you temporarily take control of an external infrastructure in order to temporarily help your business. Now, an interesting case I came across was a university that had 2 peaks throughout the year: enrolment and results. And they dimensioned their entire network to cope with those 2 peaks because, man, those students get pretty upset if the network's not working when they want to enrol or get their results. Now, when they reviewed their entire asset utilisation, they found they only had a 7% utilisation over the year. So that means that 93% of the electricity, 93% of the equipment, the space, the licensing was wasted or focused on this short period of time. So as businesses, as we start to think about when might we be interested in temporarily lassoing some infrastructure that's outside of our boundaries, well, it's based on how a business runs and what kind of peaks that we might have. And now we start to bump into some of our first challenges. Where are those servers that are sitting outside? Where is that information located? Doesn't make any difference anyway. Sherkety is a fantastic example of using the private cloud. From an internal perspective, our guys, they don't even know the difference. They don't need to know the difference. It works just the same. And I think not only for small to medium-sized businesses, but when we think about disaster recovery and redundancy and what those things kind of cost to us if we're IT directors and running our businesses, then accessing public clouds in order to give us some kind of backup and resilience is a good way of doing that. So I thought it'd be useful just to talk about the difference between private network, private cloud, virtualization, etc. So at least we have some building blocks, and I know we've addressed this a couple of times in some presentations already in this conference, but we start to get into the sticky stuff. So I was trying to think, what's really different? 20% of us in this room feel it's just marketing, it's no real different. So I went back to my old dark days. I don't know how many of you remember the operational systems interface, OSI stack. Some of you oldies will remember the OSI stack. Some of you good-looking young people will not remember the OSI stack. Anyway, for those with eagle eyes, you can see that we have 2 protocol stacks. Protocol is a conversation. And if you look at the very top layer on the right-hand side, this is the Internet Protocol stack. You see things like FTP, File Transfer Protocol, HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Even in the networking stack, and these were created in the 70s. Man, we're going way back in time now. All the oldies are saying, yeah, I remember those days. And this is what we used to draw our clouds about, actually. Now, for those of you with really great eyes, you'll recognise Moore's Law. Moore's Law tells us that the number of transistors we can get onto a disk increases, it doubles every 18 months, or you get the same processing power for half every 18 months. And I guess the main message that I wanted to convey is that here's where the confusion is. Actually, the old cloud we always referred to was about protocols. The new cloud that we're talking about is about processing. Now, the interesting thing is that when we draw these clouds, we don't look at them like this. We're looking from the top down, because we usually draw it on bits of paper or in PowerPoint slides, which means we're taking a 2D view of a scenario which is happening in 3 dimensions. The old cloud was what happened at the protocol layer, and the new cloud is what's happening at a processing layer. So now we start to see that life was actually pretty cruisy back in the good old days, because where my cloud bumped into your cloud, for example, my country bumps into your country, we could then demark the points of interconnect and say, well, here's the parts that I take care of, and those are the parts that you take care of, and everything was fine. But now we start to see, as we're hosting processes and storage and applications anywhere around the world, we start to see these kind of challenges popping up. Actually, we're sending some information somewhere, it's doing a job, and it's coming back to us. Because our processing is so fast now, and our broadband networks are so fast, and our smartphones are so fast, and our laptops are so fast, the push in one direction or another is not so definite. Actually, we can just choose based on whatever convenience we like. So it's no surprise that things like net neutrality and liability, performance and so on, these things are big regulatory headaches. And if there was one message which I'm going to repeat twice, I really think that all governments need to have a cloud strategy. They need to start embracing this whole concept, because it is changing the world fundamentally, and it's not going to go away. I thought I'd bring a couple of case studies, hopefully to get us thinking about some of the challenges and also some of the things that we see different players around the world undertaking to try and overcome this cloud. For any of us that have ever transferred money anywhere in the world, ever, we probably would have used a SWIFT code if we didn't put the money in our pocket and carry it there physically ourselves. Now, SWIFT is an international agency which helps us transfer money and make sure that it gets transferred correctly, correct banks and so on. Now, back in the mid-90s, sorry, the mid-2000s, so around 2006, the US administration implemented a law to enable it to understand where funds were being transferred to fund terrorist activities. And they decided to subpoena SWIFT to say, we want to understand how this money went from this place to that place. Now, when you get subpoenaed, you have to provide the information, otherwise you break the law. But of course, SWIFT is an international company, and it immediately bumped into some privacy laws based on its home country, which I believe is Belgium. So then they broke the law by providing this information. So we have a situation where SWIFT breaks the law if they comply, and they break the law if they don't comply. So what this shows is a breakdown in our approach to what the impact of cloud computing is having in terms of one country implementing a law which will create a problem in another country. We can't help this. This is going to happen. So one of the first things, as I say, for any government representatives, any ministry representatives, and even as we're chatting to them, we need to get those guys chatting so that they would understand what the challenge is without putting SWIFT in this difficult situation. Because we might all end up in this situation at some stage if we're not mindful of it and those discussions don't happen. We make sure we allocate resources on the fly so that things like voice over IP type services work. KPN, the Dutch incumbent, decided they wanted to implement services which would treat specific sorts of data, such as streaming and voice over IP especially, so that consumers would have a better experience. In fact, there are some of us that would love to simply stream lots of YouTube, and others that don't really care about that. But they still pay the same. And KPN said, no, what we'd like to do is charge you a little less if you don't really stream, but charge you a little bit more if you want to have access to applications which really strain our network. Eventually, though, privacy advocates got involved, and as the European Union said that they implemented a law based on passion, or they should have implemented a law based on facts and not passion. So what's happened is that in Holland it is now illegal to provide any quality of service, any traffic shaping, because it breaches privacy. Now, if we just pause on net neutrality for a second, because I think metaphors are helpful, but if you think about an individual, a journey, and a destination, and we in our ICT industry, we build digital highways. Some of those are bigger, some of those are smaller. There are all of us who would like to be able to travel those highways to get to information, and there are places that we might like to go or things that we might like to do. Now, one of the mistakes that we've made in our industry is we don't talk about voice over IP. We should talk about Skype. We don't talk about streaming, we talk about YouTube. Now, the problem with that is, as soon as we say YouTube, now we're talking about a destination. We're going to restrict your access to YouTube. We shouldn't be saying that. What we should be saying is that if you want to stream data, that really leans on a network. I'm afraid it will cost us more money. We'll have to charge you some more for that. You can go to anywhere you like, but if you want it to be rocket fast, it's not cheap. These things are expensive. If you want voice over IP type services, which again relies on a very resilient and reliant network, that costs money. We have a lot of engineers which we need to pay to keep that network working for you. So one of the challenges, of course, is that consumers think that actually some magic happens and all these networks just work for free, but the truth is that they don't. So this whole net neutrality discussion, part of it's been fueled by us as an industry, mixing up these terms like Skype, like YouTube and so on. So we need to park some of these things, but it's too late for that because it's already confusion. And of course nobody would like to pay for anything, they'd like the magic to continue. So it's no surprise that these discussions we had yesterday, we're kind of heading to the point where we somehow need to find a solution to this. But it's not about human rights. Everyone should be able to access the internet. That should not be for free. Free to access, but not access for free. How are we going? One thing that I thought was useful to point out is that if we think about the internet, the places where it bumps into and connects to all of the networks which we as ICT providers provide, that was kind of a blind interface, if you like. And back in 2011, Ericsson and a company called Akamai has 85,000 servers in about 70 countries, which, you know, they're all well hidden in data centers and so on, but we all rely on them, and you can see some stats around Akamai. So this was simply an example where we start to see telecoms interacting and engaging in a far more meaningful way with ICT players in order to provide the end-to-end solution, because we're all sitting here with our smartphones and our laptops, we're connecting to networks which then will access information over the internet, and if we start to be able to view the end-to-end connection, then we can continue to add value in a meaningful way. Cloud and security, I thought it was CIA. I promised to steal that with pride. Fantastic. Thank you for that. For me, when I was thinking about security, I was thinking about privacy and reliability. And the question is my information more private and more reliable on the cloud? That's the question we're all asking, right? And the answer is, if they're doing a better job of protecting it, then it's much better there than on your laptop or your machine. And I don't know how many of us in this room are security experts, but I just pay my virus subscription, I pay my firewall subscription, and I just hope that they're doing a good job. Sometimes I'm a bit late. Maybe I'm not doing a good enough job, and I don't know how many people in this room have had a laptop crash. It's happened to me a couple of times. Files corrupt and so on. So the question of whether our information is safer in the cloud or not, I actually think that what we're going to find is people are going to be quite happy that information is safe enough in the cloud. Certainly the capability of cloud providers far exceeds me. The question is, are they motivated enough to protect my information? Well, if their businesses rely upon that, if that's important to them, otherwise they go to business, then I have to assume that their motivation is high enough. So if they're motivated and capable and more than I am, then my information is safer in the cloud. It doesn't feel natural now because we're used to holding on to our laptops and feeling safe, but the truth is the world will go that way. So in summary, I think the cloud is different. There are clear economic drivers around asset utilisation. Energy is going to become more expensive, space is more expensive. As we look to optimise our costs, these all become more expensive. I think that there is it's a step of faith, not a leap of faith for security. It is secure enough. I think regulation is, it's about, if governments want to become relevant in this discussion, which I think they must, because we need them to have frameworks to protect us as constituents, then they need to have a cloud agenda, and it needs to be pretty high up to recognise that things are a bit different. So now I'd just like to play a short video before I'm going to re-ask this question about whether or not you think the cloud is the same or is it different, and find out whether we've convinced you or not.
So we're talking about cloud computing and an experience we did with a product called Sherkety. And Sherkety in Arabic means my company. Okay, so quickly, what are we talking about? Just in case there are any technologists here, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not gonna talk about cloud from a technology point of view. I'm a technologist by background, but we're talking about it from a customer point of view. How did we use cloud computing to serve our customer? So we'll start with the customer. The customer is the small and medium business in Egypt. We will look at their limitation, their needs, and we'll look how did we use cloud computing to help them with the limitation and satisfy their needs. Later on, we will be looking at what did we learn across the way, because we learned a lot. Okay? So, starting with the customer, small and medium businesses, they call it the vehicle of the economy, and I think they call it like this everywhere, and Egypt is not an exception. Small and medium business is the vehicle of the economy in Egypt. Just to define what exactly we mean by small and medium business, when we say a small and medium business, we have two categories. SOHO, small office, home office, which is any business that employ any number of staff between 1 and 9. So if you're a small law firm, a clinic, or a coffee shop having between 1 and 9 staff, you're a small office, home office. If you're having between 10 and 249 staff, you're SME, small and medium enterprise. Okay, just to give you the flavor of why do we call them the vehicle of the economy, small and medium business in Egypt represent 98% of the number of companies. So 2% of the number of companies in Egypt, the size of like Omnia, Orange, Vodafone, those are the big guys, those are 2%. The rest of the 98% is small and medium business, so it's a big number. And those 98% responsible for 65 of the employment opportunity in the economy. So if you're investing and you want to create jobs, for example, if you want to stimulate the economy, you better bet on small and medium business, because this is where you create jobs. You create more jobs actually. And small and medium business, they're responsible for 90% of the economic activity out of the public sector. I mean, in the private sector, 90% of the economic activity is attributed to small and medium business. Okay? So, let us deep dive into the nature of the business of a small and medium business. Small and medium business, basically, I mean, they have lots of limitation. The biggest, I think, if we might look generically at small and medium business, is access to fund. Unfortunately, in Vodafone, we're not a bank, so we're not talking about funding, we're talking about ICT enablement. When it comes to ICT enablement, small and medium business has three main limitations. First thing is that they have little money. I mean, if you're a coffee shop owner in downtown Amman, and you have something like 2,000 bucks, and you want to invest, you better get a couple of tables where you start generating money the very first day. You start getting return on investment out of those tables, seeking your visitors the very first day. And instead of going and investing in IT, for example, buying a couple of servers, you wouldn't do this. Okay, so little money is the first thing. The second is the nature of the business of a small and medium business is volatile. For example, in Egypt now, tourism is not coming as it used to be. So if you're a tour operator in Sharm el-Sheikh or Aswan or Luxor, you're not getting enough tourists as you used to. So your business is not generating enough money as it used to. And tomorrow the security situation is much better and business is fine and booming, so you get more money. So it's the nature of the business itself is fluctuating. The third thing is automation and IT resources. When we looked at some of the small and medium business, we were astonished to know that still up to this moment in 2011, by the time we launched it, some small and medium business owners, they are still keeping manual log, I mean paper-based log. We call it in Egypt al-daftar. I think it's the same. same everywhere. So they are still using a daftar to keep manual log and write down everything. The most advanced of them would use an Excel sheet on his local laptop, and Excel sheet could get lost or crashed or whatever. So they need IT, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to use it in a simple format. So our promise to small and medium business is, you guys, you're really good at your core business, being a coffee shop, being a tour operator, being a small handcraft or something like this. You focus on your own core business and let us, as Vodafone, take care of your IT. We will be your IT manager. We'll make it easy for you. So still with the small and medium business, that was their limitation. So what do they need when it comes to ICT? They have three basic needs. They want to look like big guys. They want to, if I'm a small shop, I want to have a big website like the big guys, like a big company, and I want to look professional, and I want to have an email address with my own company name. I mean, if you're a tour operator in Amman and getting or in Batra and getting tourists from Thomas Cook, you wouldn't send an email to Thomas Cook from an email address cuckoo22@hotmail. It doesn't look nice. They want to look professional. The other thing is that they want to keep in touch with their customer. If I'm a coffee shop owner in Cairo, and today I got a nice group of people sitting and paying some good money, and they enjoyed their time, and they just left. So how can I get them back? I don't have any way of getting them back, telling them about some nice promotion, or if I'm a supermarket, how can I tell my customers that I got a nice type of cheese or something like this? So there is no way of communicating with their customer. So this is very important for them. And the third thing is, how much money do I make as a small and medium business owner? I'm in it for money. So I need to know how much money am I making. This is very important. I need to know how much money I get at the end of the day, how much money I owe my supplier, how much money I owe my staff. So the whole thing of bookkeeping. So this is very, very important. And to summarize, they wanted to look like big company. They want to look to be professional in the way they use IT. So what did we do to address this? So let us look at the video.
Want to start up your business or develop your existing one? Seeking a professional image for your business without paying IT resources? Need to have a website with your company's name? Want to design it yourself with great ease? Want to keep an eye on your financial transactions? Want to know how much money you make daily? Want to communicate with your customers and market your products more effectively? Need to securely back up your documents and access them anytime from anywhere? You can have all this with Vodafone Sherkety service. Our secure, easy to use management solution that you can use from anywhere with the language of your preference. For more information about Vodafone Sherkety service, please go to www.vodafone.com.eg.
So what is really Vodafone Sherkety? Vodafone Sherkety is basically three main components. The first component is to help the small and medium business customer building his own website, meaning you don't need any web developer, you don't need any previous experience with web. I mean, it's like 1, 2, 3, just a menu-driven thing, and in 5 minutes you're up and running with your professional-looking website. And within the same module, you can have your own email with your company domain name, being in Arabic or .masr in the Arabic domain name or .com. And the unique selling thing is the unique selling proposition in this is the simplicity of the site builder. And again, it's in Arabic, which is very important thing for a small and medium business owner, because small and medium business owner, and I guess this is, in Egypt, and I guess this is in Jordan as well, they wouldn't learn English to use IT. They want to use IT in Arabic. This is the first module. The second module is what we call simple CRM. It helps the small and medium business owner to have a list of his customer, categorize those customers according to needs and according to preference. For example, Muslim customer, he would send an SMS or an email with his company name during Ramadan, telling them about nice promotion, he just renovated the place, inviting them back, so on and so forth. And he can do all sorts of things, add notes, get a history of the customer, all sorts of things of simple web-based CRM. Of course, we don't tell our small and business customers this is CRM, because the word is too much for them, and even we don't talk about cloud computing, and we'll see why.